I mean, it's always very gratifying when something you work on moves into human testing. Whether you discovered the drug per se and synthesized it, or whether you found it on the shelf and found that it could be reutilized in a different indication. We went into this quite agnostic. We knew Taxol and various analogs of Taxol didn't get in the brain, and so we just started a search looking for microtubule stabilizing agents that did get in the brain. And these apothalones as a class seem to, and then we did a variety of testing to show that apothalone D might be one of the preferred candidates out of that larger class. And so it's exciting to me that we might have taken a drug that was sitting on the shelf, as you say, and now at a significantly decreased dose found a new use for it that hopefully will be safe and efficacious. John Torjanowski and Virginia Lee, who head up the Center for Neurodegenerative Disease Research here, proposed several years ago, probably 15 years ago, that this idea of being able to compensate for the loss of tau function might be possible with drugs that are known to bind microtubules and stabilize them. And these drugs typically have been used for cancer, and the prime example is Taxol or paclitaxel. And so there was this idea, could you take paclitaxel or Taxol, which again kills cancer cells by overstabilizing these microtubules such that cells can't divide properly, and apply them perhaps at lower doses to Alzheimer's patients where you could then stabilize the microtubules in the brain. The problem, and we found out, and since I've joined Penn, is that Taxol and frankly all compounds of that class don't get into the brain, so they're not going to be useful for Alzheimer's patients. And so we then did a survey looking for other compounds that act on microtubules, but which might get in the brain. And this is where we discovered the apothalones and apothalone D specifically. In any kind of research like this, is that it's always a team effort, right? Particularly drug discovery, drug development. I mean, it's a multidisciplinary endeavor. It takes, chemists, it takes biologists, it takes pharmacologists, and so there are many people who contributed to this project. Ben Zhang is the first author on the paper that we're talking about. Ben is a longtime senior research investigator here in the center. Who's very good at animal model work, surgical work, and doing the types of immunohistochemistry, for example, that were critical to these studies. And we're very dependent on our colleagues in the Department of Chemistry to synthesize these compounds. And so the labs led by Amos Smith and Carlo Ballator, assistant professor in the department, played key roles here because these compounds are very difficult to synthesize. They're essentially originally were identified as natural products, which means that they're fairly complex structures that are very difficult to synthesize. And so, without all these other contributors to the project, we've never gone anywhere. And so again, it's my role, if anything, is kind of the conductor of the orchestra and getting everyone to to help and move things forward. But without all the other collaborators, it wouldn't have gone anywhere. I think this is a good example of where an academic drug discovery team can have a potential impact on, various fields, but in this case, neurodegenerative disease. And I think we'll see more of this going forward as at least, certain universities that have the interdisciplinary capabilities of Penn can put together, and facilitate teams working together like this in a way that will allow, efforts that will complement industry efforts as industry continues to cut back on their research efforts. And so I think this is, evidence of why I came here from industry to try to, do research that's meaningful and can contribute to the drug discovery efforts of industry.